into the Command Center. It is your host, Joseph Henry, back again. Would say live from the Command Center, but not exactly live from the Command Center. There's been some changes in my personal life in the past few weeks since the last episode. Basically, the Command Center, which was an area in my house dedicated to the Commanders, it was kind of like a living room for me, is going to be turned into a different type of setup. I'm going to be moving apartments, living back with my brother. So it's going to be very enjoyable to be back up with him. But the Command Center is no more for now. It'll be back in some form, but the Command Center was never really the place. It was more of the heart and the people and the unity that came from us all being in the Command Center together. So that's really what to take away from all of this. So yeah, currently in a kitchen in my house. If you look, got the Washington football team helmet and then the Washington Commanders helmet. Those are not normally here, but I wanted to spice up the room a little bit and give it some Commanders flavor. Also, if anybody will notice, wearing my John Riggins, yes, that's right, the Diesel jersey for the Commanders for today's episode. I love taking everybody through the different Commanders merchandise I have. This is one of my most prized items. It's the same type of jersey he wore in the Super Bowl against the Dolphins with the when he won Super Bowl MVP. So very happy to have this. And you might notice, Joe, what is that massive black microphone in front of you? Well, folks, the Command Center just got upgraded a little bit. If you follow me on social media, you'll know that my lovely girlfriend, Emily Enriquez, she is amazing, got me this great podcasting microphone for my birthday, which was a few weeks ago, and trying it out for the first time. Obviously, a little bit of an awkward position. Can't see my beautiful face, and I don't want to move away too much because I don't want to mess up the audio. So I'm sorry for any thing that happens. I've tried different tests to see where it works best, and I think this is what is working best for right now, and we'll see how that works. I'm gonna watch the footage over multiple times and kind of see where the audio best works. But I'm sorry that you guys can't see my beautiful face as much, and still here. Just gotta look through the black fan a little bit just to see it. But yeah, thanks to my girlfriend, I love this, and it's definitely gonna make podcasting a lot easier. It's not really a podcast because I'm uploading YouTube videos, but once it starts to blow up and become the most popular podcast in the galaxy, then we'll just be doing audio only as well as the YouTube. But this isn't going anywhere. And you can obviously see I'm a little bit sunburned. I've been spending some time at the beach, at the pool, so got a little bit of that nice summer vibe. But anyway, none of that is important. It is Commanders time. Hope everybody had a good week or so, and it's time for Command the News, our annual segment to start off every episode. Command the News. First things first, want to shout out some of the new subscribers to the channel. We're up to 5 now. 5 subscribers. Pretty awesome. Happy to have people that care about the channel and are listening. Hope everybody's following me at the Command Center on Instagram and on Twitter. I post a lot on the Instagram page, just different reels of me talking some specific clips. So if you're interested in that, if you don't have time to listen to a full episode, I know everybody's very busy, and we'll be getting busy as we go back to school. If anybody wants to check that out, that would be awesome. And also, I want to shout them out. Joaquin Munyon and James Henry, both new subscribers. Really happy to have them on the channel. James Henry ends up being my brother. But, and he's not a Commanders fan, but I assume that he found this all from just loving the content that I've been putting out there, because he doesn't respond to any of my texts anyway, so I can't imagine he saw me send him the YouTube channel a few weeks ago. But yes, Command the News. So now that we've shouted out some of the subscribers and some of the new channels, some of the new updates to the channel, let's talk about the actual Commanders news. So big week for the Commanders. They've played their first preseason game. They played the Browns on Friday. I'm recording this on Sunday, and hopefully it'll be up by this Sunday. But they played the Browns on Friday and won 17-15. So a nice Commanders preseason win to start off the season. Big time win. They didn't win a single preseason game last year, so good that they got the win here. And yeah, let's just talk a little bit about that more in the next segment. Let's talk about some of the other news when it comes to the Commanders. So starting off, one of the big pieces this week is Ron Rivera came out because a reporter asked a question during a press conference, kind of like, hey, how have the players responded to some of the Eric Bieniemy coaching changes? And he basically said something along the lines of, it's been difficult. I think, a lot of these players are not exactly used to that tough, aggressive coaching. And, that's definitely a reflection on what's been coming these past few seasons with guys like Scott Turner and stuff like that, not really exactly going with the hard grinder route. And Ron's a very reserved guy, but we'll take a closer look at the official quote here. He said, one of the biggest things is I had a number of guys come to me and I said, hey, just go talk to him. I said, understand what he's been trying to get across to you. I think as they go and they talk and they'll listen to him, it's been enlightening for a lot of these guys. I mean, it's a whole different approach. But the weird part of that was saying that he's had guys come up to him to kind of talk about the coaching, which isn't really something you should be sharing with reporters. And then they said, a reporter asked, when they come to you, it's just they felt like Eric was riding them too hard. And Ron said, well, they just were a little concerned. So obviously, and I apologize, you could probably see me not very secretively pulling out my phone to look at that quote, but we're still getting good at the behind-the-scenes stuff. That's not exactly what you're looking for, right? That's not... Well, everybody assumes that's going to be the case, right? Eric Bieniemy is coming from a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, which has won the Super Bowl 2 times, and that kind of intensity in practice is not what the Commanders have been used to. They've made the playoffs 1 time in the past 3 seasons, and that time they didn't even have a winning record. They have not won more games than they've lost in a single season since Ron became head coach in his past 3 years. So it was an awkward scene, but everybody assumes it's going to happen. But the thing is, Ron kind of made their personal laundry public, and that's not good. So that day there was a lot of discourse and talk about it. I think Booger McFarland, the ESPN personality, said the Washington players were soft and bad, and I can't disagree with that. I mean, if they're complaining, I assume they are soft. I mean, Eric Bieniemy is coming from a regime where you just have to trust him and trust his process. I mean, he's worked with Patrick Mahomes. This guy knows what he's talking about. So, wonder who complained. It was probably some of the offensive linemen, because the offensive line is trash this year, which we'll get into more about in the preseason game discussion. But yeah, so just talking about that aggressive coaching, Curtis Samuel came out and said he loves Eric Bieniemy. I just wanted to make it publicly known, I guess, that he wasn't one of the guys complaining. And Ron said that the next day that he put his foot in his mouth and that he thought that Eric's doing a great job and everybody's really loving it. So, yeah, just a little, you assume it's going to be like that. You assume that it's going to take a little bit to adjust, but the way Ron went about it, probably not that great. But also, this week, punter Colby, I can't read my handwriting. Kobe Wadham was brought in to spot for Tress Way, who hurt his back. Tress Way obviously been the franchise punter for Washington these past few seasons. Tress Way was, they didn't want to use him in the preseason to punt too much, which is usually what he ends up doing, because how else are you going to really get those live reps? And it's not like he's going to get fatigued or anything, but they didn't want to use him. So they brought in Wadham, and then he was waived after 1 preseason game. And then they brought in, with that release, they brought in Caden Smith, a tight end. He was a 6th-round pick in 2019 by the San Francisco 49ers. He spent 3 seasons with the Giants, hasn't played since 2021. He was signed by the Colts, but then he had injury concerns. So hoping to get back healthy and hoping to be a contributor for this Washington Commanders team. So, yes, that's it for Command the News. Not that much on the news front, just practicing, guys developing. Reports always coming out about how guys are looking in practice and stuff, but, that kind of stuff is always coming fast and far. And it's the same things on each player. There's always offensive line concerns. Emmanuel Forbes has looked good. Terry McLaurin's always excellent. Sam Howell's good. But, yeah, not anything crazy. Really, the only thing I'm so eager to talk about is the preseason game. Before recording this episode, I watched the preseason game, and I wrote a lot of notes down about all the players and everything like that. So really excited to talk to you all about that. But that's it for Command the News. It's been a good week. The Commanders won 17-15, like I said. First time seeing Commanders football in a few months, so that was really enjoyable. Hope everybody enjoyed watching that. But very excited to talk about the preseason game. That's what the rest of the episode in the next segment is going to be all about. So I'll see you in the next one for our preseason recap, the first one of this season. And welcome back to the next segment here on the 4th episode of the Command Center. I'm your host, Joseph Henry. So a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. The Commanders played their first preseason game against the Cleveland Browns, and I've watched the film, I've watched the breakdowns, and I'm very, very excited to talk to you about it all. I just went through it before this episode and made a whole lot of notes. So let's just dive into it straight away. So first off, the Commanders started off with the ball, and it was the starting offense on the field. You're going to see me looking at my notepad a lot here. On the first play from scrimmage, it was a little bit of a run inside to Brian Robinson. Charles Leno got absolutely swallowed by the defensive end. Just no hope for him at all on the play. And it wasn't even Myles Garrett. It was some random defensive end. I tried looking up his number, and I think he wasn't even on the team last season. But he did have help from Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the fantastic linebacker on the play. So, he's a good player. So it's not like Leno didn't have a reason for it, but he could have been significantly better. He's supposed to be a really good left tackle. So one thing that you will note from my notes is the fact that offensive line is the main concern for this Commanders team heading into the season. Then one thing we saw a lot from the Commanders in this preseason game is stick routes. So it's basically when you have your whole offense lined up, linemen, wide receivers, quarterback, running back, whatever. And then the receiver just goes up, or maybe he pops over, and he just sticks. He sticks in his spot, they throw him the ball, and then he turns and keeps going. So basically, that was just second play was just a little Dotson stick route, and it was a great job. And we saw this a lot with the Chiefs. It's just an easy way to get your playmakers the football in a quick way. And, I'm really excited about that, especially with Eric Bieniemy, because the most important thing on this Commanders team is this receiving core for the offense and these running backs, because the quarterback situation with Howell's up in the air. Who knows how good he's going to be? He could be awful. And then the offensive line is very questionable, so we don't know if he's going to have enough time to drop back and really air out passes. But if we can get the ball to our playmakers in a short amount of time, guys like Dotson, McLaurin, Brian Robinson, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, then I think we're going to be in a good spot. So it was a great way to see Dotson getting involved in that early on, and also saw that later on with Curtis Samuel as well. So good play there. So brings up about a 3rd and 6. And then Howell takes the snap. Good protection, but then the defender is getting in after a little bit. So Howell takes off on the left side, and he runs in for the first down. A really great scramble there and fantastic footwork. I know the team was really worried about Howell's footwork coming into this season and last season, at the end of last season too. That's why Ron wanted to start Taylor Heineke instead of Howell in that Week 18 game, because of Howell's footwork and how it wasn't NFL ready. But it looks like he's really worked on it. He was very quick, very decisive, and I was very happy to see all that. Next play, 1st and 10, Curtis Samuel stick route, fought for the first. He was tackled about 5 yards, and then he broke that and rushed forward for the 10. So really excited to see what Curtis Samuel can do in that short game, as well as the deep throws. We know he's a burner, but I think the majority of deep shots are going to be for guys like Terry and Dotson, and Curtis Samuel's really going to be a halfback, half receiver type. So really interested to see what he can do out of the backfield, catching balls. And then awesome play action scheme to John Bates, the tight end. Howell took it, turned around. Let me see if I can do a full. Oh, I hit my desk. Let me see if I can do a full 10. Took it, turned around, aired it out to Bates. Bates completely dropped it, but it didn't matter anyway because Wiley was holding on the play. Andrew Wiley, the recently signed right tackle from the Kansas City Chiefs. But Bates was completely open, so fantastic scheme there, and way for Howell to just hit him in his chest. I mean, it was right there. So good throw by Howell, good route by Bates, good design by Bieniemy, but bad on Wiley for the hold on, bad on Bates for dropping it. Then on the second play, Howell held on too long in the blitzing linebacker, and then the Wiley's defender came in for the sack. But I can't really fault Wiley on that one. It was a very, very long hold by Howell and something he should not have done at all. So not going to credit the sack on the offensive line. I think that one's mostly on Howell. Then awful screenplay design on 2nd and very, very long to bring up a 3rd and extremely long. And then Gibson got a little dump-off pass there, and he did a good job shaking off the defender. I think I'm really excited to see what Antonio Gibson can do in the receiving game this season, because I think B-Rob's going to get the majority of the carries. Brian Robinson I like to use nicknames for the players because I'm a fan, but as a professional, I probably should not do that. But Brian Robinson, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. New setup. I keep hitting my desk. I'm sorry for shaking the camera. I'm going to try to be more careful moving forward. But, yeah. Oh, New York Yankees just lost again. It's officially football season, folks. I hate the New York Yankees. They're so bad. My favorite team, I'm completely giving up on them, and it's just all about the Commanders now. So you guys have my full attention when it comes to the Commanders. But really excited to see what the Commanders can do with this offense, and a lot of great plays. But after that Wiley hold, then the sack, and then the bad screen play, the Commanders ended up having to punt. So we'll talk about the defense after we talk about the offense. I just want to go full offense and then full defense. So then on the next drive, the first team offense came out again. Ron originally said that they were going to get the first quarter, and then after that it would immediately go to the second team, but that ended up not being so true. But this second drive was in that first quarter still. So on the first play, they were backed up pretty far within their own 10. Wiley gave up an awful pressure, and Howell had to throw it away. And then on the second play, they ran up the middle with Brian Robinson, and Cosme got swallowed on a run block. So, I mean, just absolutely pancake, swallowed up. And then it ended up a 3rd and long. And then on the 3rd and long, Wiley got absolutely bull rushed. And then there was a penalty, which led to the safety. So, really, really bad 3 and out for the Commanders. About as bad as you can get, as they gave up the first points of the game in a defensive score. So, a safety. So, at that point, Washington was down 0-2. So, really bad stuff by the offensive line in that sequence, but really happy with how Howell handled it himself. He didn't really give up too much. Like when you watch, you can sometimes tell when a quarterback is just not seeing the ball well at all, not seeing the field well at all. But in that sequence, it just seems like Howell didn't have any options and also didn't have a whole lot of time. So not too frustrated with him. I think it's been generally positive from what I've watched from Howell so far in the preseason up until this point in my notes. So then on the next drive, Washington came out again. Was originally supposed to be time for the backups as it was around the beginning of the second quarter, but Ron left the first team offense in and said, listen, we got to figure this out because that's back-to-back drives now, just ruined by the offensive line with penalties and sacks. So they had to get something positive going. Sorry. So then it was a pitch play. Cosme was pancaked. Gates was also pancaked. Nick Gates, the center. But it was still a positive game by Brian Robinson. I think Brian Robinson's success is strictly dependent on how good the offensive line can be this season. I know that we say that a lot about running backs, but because Brian Robinson is such a power back and guys like Antonio Gibson are elusive backs, or even some of the top backs in the league like Jonathan Taylor or Austin Eckler, or obviously we have like power backs like Derrick Henry, but he's not a power back per se. He pancakes guys, but he's also got amazing speed and burst to him. Guys like Jonathan Taylor. With bad offensive lines, they can still make magic happen. But a guy like Brian Robinson is such a thumper and he needs the open area to build up the momentum to get that power going. Like he needs that 5 or 4 yards that he can just get the force going and just pancake a guy. You know what I'm saying? Like just give him the boom tank. So he needs that space. And if the offensive line is bad this season, I think we're going to see a lot of Antonio Gibson because I can't imagine Brian Robinson's going to be very productive. But he was great on this pitch play. Chris Paul was great on it too. Chris Paul played left guard with the first team for the first preseason game because Sadiq Charles is on a little bit of an injured stint right now, but he should be back soon. Not a big injury, so didn't touch upon that and command the news. Also, Dax Milne had a really good block, the wide receiver, so he's going to need more of those if he wants to really make the roster after he seems to kind of be losing the kick returning job, which we'll talk about more later after defense, as we've got a new guy coming in that role who seems to be pretty good. And then on the next play, Leno was absolutely turned around, but Howell had an excellent quick throw, accurate crossbody, great footwork for a nice completion. Really, really happy there. Seems like he's got a lot of good connections and chemistry right now with McLaurin, with Turner, and with Samuel. Didn't see Terry a whole lot in this game, but I believe he caught the ball on this pass. And then Leno had a really bad first step on a run play, but Antonio Gibson is pretty shifty, so he got around it and got some good yardage. And then Howell had a huge overthrow downfield to Curtis Samuel. And then that brought up a 3rd and 3. Howell was heavily pressured on the 3rd and 3. And so basically what happened here was the pressure game to him, and it was a blitzing linebacker, but that let out the running back on a quick route. That was Antonio Gibson. He had a clear path for the first down. Howell back foot threw it, but completely missed AG. It was into the dirt. So what I found out from that play with Howell was he's got the good footwork, and he's doing a good job of making things happen, being shifty. But in the NFL season, that's a play you need to have. Like, yes, it's just one play in the preseason. It's not a big deal, and I might be reading too much into it. But Howell's still a young player, but that is a throw that you absolutely need to have because that's what the defense wants. They want to pressure your quarterback and leave these open avenues, like these running backs on these little out routes, dump-off plays. They want to leave that open and get to your quarterback. And that's what happened there. They got to Howell. He missed the throw, and that would lead to a 4th and 3. But Ron Rivera said, listen, it's preseason. Let's just go for it on 4th down. And thank goodness they did because now we got some Howell stuff to talk about. So Howell misses that play on 4th and 3. Not great. Then Howell, 4th and 3, takes the snap. Heavy pressure comes to him immediately. He rolls out right, looks, waits for a minute, finds Cole Turner crossing across the field, hits it to him for the first down. Turner is in the middle of a DB and a linebacker. Beautiful catch, just right there in the breadbasket. Falls down. Great stuff. Amazing stuff there by Howell to make the play on the run. He gets out. This is what I talk about, people. The footwork, it's growing. It's getting better. He moves the feet. You can't see it, but I'm moving my feet right now like I'm dancing. And then he throws a cross body, gets Turner right there. Went from right to left. A really, really great stuff there by Howell to pick up the first down. 1st and 10, and to set up Howell's passing touchdown. Then on the next play, Howell takes the snap, got Dotson on a go route down the field, just absolutely lasers him. I don't think Dotson was prepared for this ball. I've been hearing that Howell really loves Dotson and what he can offer him as a passer. I mean, he's very Terry McLaurin-esque, very physical, can make a lot of great catches like with his body. Not physical against other guys, but he uses his body to the full potential, right? Like you're not going to see him like just, he couldn't catch that. If the ball's over there, he's going. He's figuring it out. He knows how to use his body. He's got great body control. I think that's the word I was looking for this whole time. And Terry's getting double-teamed all the time, but you leave a guy like Dotson or Samuel open, it's really going to open up avenues for Howell. So it was an absolute laser by Howell, and it was a little bit up and to the side for Dotson. So Dotson turned his body, caught it, and then pulled it down, hit a defender, and rumbled into the end zone for the touchdown. And the Commanders lead. So very, very impressive stuff there. Fantastic, beautiful play. I think that one thing I will note is that it's a pretty, not deep pass, but it's a long pass. It's about 20, 26, 28 yards. And Howell just made it seem easy. I mean, it just rolled off the fingers, spiral, just blasted in there. So very impressive stuff. And I was really impressed with that. And I think that Dotson maybe wasn't expecting the high velocity, quick throw, but he adjusted well to it. And I'm pretty happy with that. So then talking about the rest of the offense, that was it for the first team. They went out there for 3 drives, first drive, punt, second drive, safety, third drive, touchdown. But I was very happy with what I saw. I think that it was very not inspiring. What's the word? Encouraging. It's not inspiring. Maybe to some, but not to me. It's encouraging. And I think I watched this and I said, I think Howell can be a pretty good player for us. I really do think he can be one of the better quarterbacks we've had this past few years, which isn't saying much, but to this Commanders team, that's all we've been waiting for. And then talking about the second and third offense. So I don't have too many notes on it after analyzing the first team, but Chris Rodriguez, the running back we drafted this season, has been very, very good for us. Really great stuff. I've been really happy with what I've seen from him. A very physical runner. As we're going to some of the box score stats now. You guys see me pulling out my phone. I didn't want to write down all the stats because I can't really read my own handwriting. So just to write down all this and get through it reading it was kind of a challenge. So let's just look at some of the stats. So, Howell finished the day 9 for 12 with 77 yards and a touchdown. No interceptions. He took 1 sack for 8 yards. He had 119.1 passer rating. And then Jacoby Brissett was really excellent in the backup role, which is what we knew we were getting from him. He's going to be in a fantastic backup. If Jacoby Brissett played against second teams all the time, he'd be amazing. But he's just not that great and spectacular against the first team NFL defense, which is why you've seen him. He's been good, but he's not a franchise guy. That's why he's been a backup the past few seasons in Cleveland, in Miami, in Indianapolis. But he was really good. He also rushed 2 times for 16 yards and a touchdown. He had a long rush for 12 yards and a touchdown to cap off his first drive. And his first drive as well, he had a deep throw to Byron Pringle, the recently signed Chiefs wide receiver, for 32 yards. That was great. That was a really nice throw downfield for him. He also took 1 sack for 5 yards. And he had a 6 for 10 day with 75 yards and an interception. His interception was kind of a Hail Mary type throw, so I'm not going to hold him for that too much, but he had a 43.8 passer rating. Jake Fromm, who, he was a third-string quarterback, not much to talk about there. He was 5 for 7, 26 yards, and an interception. He had a 37.5% rating, so not amazing. And then Chris Rodriguez on the ground was the leading rusher. He had 5 carries for 39 yards, so a whopping 7.8 yards per carry. I think the running back room is really stacked. We got guys like, obviously Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, now Chris Rodriguez. I still love Jarrett Patterson, really talented through and through. We just signed Derek Gore. Not sure if he's going to make the roster, but I think we got a lot of talent in the running back room, so I'm really excited to see what happens with that. Then Jacoby Brissett, just said 2 for 16. Brian Robinson had 3 for 16 with 5.3 yards a carry. Jarrett Patterson, 6 for 16, so only 2.7 yards per carry. Sam Howell had 1 rush for 8 yards, that first down we talked about. Derek Gore had 4 for 8, only 2 yards per carry, so not amazing, especially since he's trying to make the roster. Antonio Gibson had 2 rushes for 7 yards, 3.5 yards a carry. And Jake Fromm had 4 rushes for 1 yard. So not amazing from some of these guys, but guys like Chris Rodriguez, Brian Robinson doing a great job just bursting over that 4 yards per carry mark, which you really look for in a running back. And then in the receiving end, Byron Pringle had 1 for 32. He also had 2 targets. Cole Turner saw a lot of action, 4 receptions for 31 yards. Jahan Dotson had 2 for 30. Mitchell Tinsley had 1 for 26, so a little bit of a deep throw there for a guy who's he's just a camp body really, but maybe he could sneak onto the roster. Diami Brown had 1 for 14, and he was targeted twice. Dax Milne had 1 for 13. Antonio Gibson had 2 for 13, but he was targeted 3 times. Curtis Samuel had 1 for 10, and he was targeted twice. One of those throws was on the deep shot that he did not bring in because it was just completely overthrown. Terry McLaurin did not see a whole lot of action. Only 1 reception for 7 yards, and he was only targeted once. And then Derek Gore had 4 receptions for 4 yards, just dump-offs. Didn't really work. And then guys like Marcus Kemp were targeted twice, but no receptions. Same thing with Curtis Hodges. And Brian Robinson had 1 reception for a -2 yards. So nothing crazy there on the offensive end. No guys really having a great day. But guys like Cole Turner, I think, are going to have big seasons. Logan Thomas was out with injury, so he'll probably take that primary tight end role. I think we'll see a lot of 2 tight end sets with Washington this season on the offensive end. Guys like Terry are going to get more involved. It's going to be really interesting to see how many receivers they're using, because we know that out there is going to be Terry, Jahan, and Curtis on basically every offensive play, along with Logan Thomas. And then the question is, like, who's that other receiver going to be, right? Because let's do the math. You got 5 offensive linemen, so that's 5. Then a quarterback, 6. Running back, 7. 3 receivers, 10. So then the question is, who's that other guy going to be, right? Because we know they'll go heavy tight end set once in a while, but the primary offense, is that 11th guy going to be another running back? So you're going to have AG out there with Brian Robinson, or you're going to swap them back and forth? Is AG going to be that 4th receiver type? Are you going to have another tight end out there with Logan Thomas? Is that going to be Cole Turner? Or are you just going to go 4 receivers and put Diami Brown out there? So that's going to be really interesting to see. I think that it's going to be a mix of those 3 options, with the primary one being having AG out there to be kind of that receiver/running back hybrid. Because then with him and Curtis Samuel and Brian Robinson, you have 3 guys who can carry the football, and that's just great ability with the football. So yeah, really interesting stuff here from the offense. I'm very, very happy with it all. I think Howell looked fantastic. He was a real standout. I think that I'm really excited to see. He like I said, he gets the easy stuff, which is really what matters, and that down the field stuff is going to come. I mean, with the quick stick passes, that's really important to have, and I think that's really going to help him develop and start to get the easy completions going, and then he'll take a few deep shots a game and probably hit one or two of them. Yeah, Dotson and him have a really good connection. Cole Turner, Chris Rodriguez, and also Kazimir Allen, the kick returner, who was recently signed. He was pretty good for Washington, had a few nice returns. One of them was negated by penalty, but he looks pretty good. So looks like he's going to be getting a roster spot most likely. Really worried about Dax Milne's potential. He was the BYU receiver we drafted in the 7th round a few years ago. He was in the Zach Wilson draft class. He started off kind of being that 6th receiver on the roster after Diami Brown in the 4 spot and Cam Sims in the 5. But now the whole, with Cam Sims being gone and Eric Bieniemy coming to town, guys like Byron Pringle, some of these other guys, who's going to be that 5th and 6th wide receiver that makes the roster? Because they probably won't carry more than that. I mean, maybe a 7th for a returner. But Milne was getting the majority of the returns last season, but he wasn't that good. So going to be interesting to see. But, he had a good block today and a reception or two. So going to be interested to see there. But yeah, offense was pretty good. Really happy with these standouts. Rodriguez was great. And, when you look at the offensive line, it was rough. I think Leno struggled a lot. Chris Paul was really, really good. He was blocking pretty good. Cosme had a bad play or two, but he was okay. Nick Gates was a little bit but Andrew Wiley was bad. He was just bad straight up. So I think we're going to see some combinations on the offensive line before camp ends to try to find the best option. I think some of these rookies are going to see some playing time, maybe even week 1. Hot take. I don't think that the starting 5 we've been seeing of Charles Leno, Sadiq Charles, Nick Gates, Cosme, Wiley from left tackle to right tackle is going to be the opening day. I think that something's going to get switched up, and I'm not talking about Chris Paul subbing in for Sadiq Charles if he's hurt. I think Chris Paul is going to be starting, and I don't think it's going to be a left guard. I think it might be somewhere else on the line, maybe right guard. What that means for Cosme, I don't know if they slide Cosme over to tackle, maybe left tackle if Leno's really struggling, but they wouldn't do that. So I don't know, but that's just my take. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that they're going to put out those 5 guys that we've been seeing all preseason and practice, because I think that it's just a bad combo. I think Wiley's really bad, even though they just signed him. And Gates looks old and tired. I think it's hard to find premium offensive line nowadays, and I think Washington's really struggled with that. They let go of Trent Williams and then kind of had a patchwork offensive line. Guys like who's the old right guard that used to play for Washington, and then he went to Jacksonville? Brandon Sheriff. Brandon Sheriff was amazing, and then he had a really great year at right guard, and then left guard was Eric Flowers. And then we also had Morgan Moses at right tackle, and he played a lot of left tackle. And then we let go of Morgan Moses, and I was like, why? And it was because we had drafted Sam Cosme. So it kind of made sense. But since then, since we let go of Morgan Moses, the offensive line's been really bad. Even Brandon Sheriff had a down year before he left in free agency. So not really sure, but I think the offensive line kind of needs an overhaul. And they tried to do a small version of that with bringing in Nick Gates and Andrew Wiley, but I still think we have to go younger. I think that we drafted an offensive line in the 3rd and 4th round, but I think we got to go 1st round next year maybe. We need new tackles, because if Leno's struggling, then the line is really going to struggle, because he's been pretty good. He had a down year last year, but his first season with Washington, he was excellent. So we'll see. But yes, my main takeaway from the offense, because we're going to go to defense in the next segment, is everybody looks pretty good except for the offensive line. I'm very, very worried about the offensive line. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, in the preseason games 2 and 3, that's going to be really fascinating to monitor. But yeah, we'll see. So, yep, I'll see you guys in the next segment for the defense. So now let's talk a little bit about the defense in this preseason game. So starting off, the first team defense only played 1 series. The same thing with the Browns' first team offense. So only got to get the Deshaun Watson matchup once. It was a little bit nice to see the Browns struggle, obviously for personal reasons with Deshaun Watson. I'm not a huge fan, and I can't imagine anybody else is. But as a football player, he's a tough matchup, and Washington lost to the Browns in Week 17 when they needed to win to keep their playoff chances alive, and Deshaun Watson absolutely smoked us, and that was a tough day. I cried. So happy to beat him. Happy the defense looked good against him, but still a lot of concern. So on the first play, Chase Young had a really, really good rush after Deshaun Watson. I didn't go as in-depth with the notes for the first-team defense as I did for the first-team offense, but Chase Young looked really, really great. He had a lot of explosive plays. A few plays later, after he had a great rush on the first one, but then Watson got the pass off before he could get sacked. And then a few plays later, Chase Young actually went after Deshaun Watson and looked like he was about to sack him, but then Watson does a little bit of his magician-type stuff and blew past him for a first down, rushed it. But yeah, he shook off Young. Like, Young was on him, and then Chase just got blown off. So it happens, but he's going to have to start getting home on those. But looked a lot more explosive than he did last season when he came back, and even before last season, when he played half a year before he got hurt. So really happy to see. Wow. Time has really flown by. That's crazy to think about, the fact that he was a rookie, that he played half a year, got hurt, and then he was out for all of last year and then played basically the last few games, and now he's entering his fourth season. I still remember when he got drafted. It was absolutely insane. But yeah, Chase Young, hopefully, it looks like he's going to be a lot more productive this season. Very explosive so far. Very happy to see that. One thing to note is that I think the linebacking core was really, really weak, and that's something we've talked about. Jamin Davis is a bit of a thumper at the linebacker position. He's not so great against the pass, but he's really, really good against the run. But he gets juked out very easily. He gets faked out. And it was the same thing with Cole Holcomb, but Holcomb was a little bit faster, it feels like. And Cody Barton just looks like a statue out there. I mean, he can hit hard and he can tackle well, but there were some plays where in the middle of the field against a running back or a receiver or something like that on a quick dump-off play, he just got absolutely juked out of his shoes and just had no chance at a tackle. So not happy with that. Need more speed at the linebacker position. Hopefully Khalil Hudson can find his way into the starting lineup and start to make some magic happen there. He looks pretty good. Khalil Hudson looks pretty good, but still, I mean, if you're not playing against the first-team defense, I'm not going to take anything you do too well. Except for Christian Holmes. He looks pretty good on the second-team defense. And then some guys looked bad, like Jortavius Martin. But we'll talk about that later. But yeah, Cody Barton and Jermaine Davis. It seems like there would be a lot of pressure and like chaos around the line of scrimmage, right? It would be the defensive line battling against the offensive line. Guys like Chase Young, Jonathan Allen would just battle in and have a good opportunity. Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, right? And then they'd either blow it up if it was a run. They got close to sacking a few times but couldn't get home. But then it would go to the middle of the field, the linebacker section. And it would just all, no matter what, just chaos. Like, the linebackers were just nowhere near what was happening. No, Davis had a few close tackles, but no passes broken up. It just seemed like the Browns were having their way with the defense, just chopping up yards. And that's something we've always talked about, is the Commanders' defense starts off the season very, very slow. They start off just giving up these huge gainers, and teams can just do whatever they want. And it takes so long before they can actually start putting it together and stopping teams from just feasting on them. And that definitely happened in this game. But they ended the drive pretty well, but it was frustrating to watch anyway. Davis missed a tackle on Deshaun. The linebacking core was weak, and this is what I'm talking about. The defensive line is fantastic talent-wise. And if they can put together that production, they're going to be great. I mean, Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen are going to be very, very good. And Montez Sweat's going to be good. If he takes a jump, amazing. But we need Chase Young, because then that'll put the entire defensive line together and really turn this team into a top defense like the San Francisco 49ers. Only if this defensive line comes together. Because then if the defensive line comes together, I have enough faith in the secondary that they can play well even though they are young. I don't have really that much faith in the linebacking core. I do like Jermaine Davis. I'm not sure about Cody Barton, but I think Jermaine Davis can be pretty good. Anyway, the Browns just marched their way down there. And then on a 3rd and goal and then 4th and goal, Emmanuel Forbes had a huge score-saving tackle to stop a touchdown on 3rd and goal, and then on a 4th and goal, Montez Sweat stopped the Browns running back from scoring. So great turnover on downs, which is why Washington was so in poor field position on their second drive of the night. But a really good job by the defensive line and the corners on that last few plays, but still need more from the linebacking core, and I am worried about the youth of the corner and safety group. I mean, we know Cam Curl is great. We know Kendall Fuller is pretty good. We know that, I mean, it's really all we know in the secondary. We know Derek Forrest had a good season last year, but who knows what's going to happen for him. We know that Benjamin St-Juste is really good when healthy. When healthy, he's had a lot of concussion problems. And we know Emmanuel Forbes is a really promising young prospect, but how he plays is going to be the question. I mean, it feels like in the past 2 seasons we've seen these young guys come in at different positions and just take over. Like last year, Sauce Gardner, and then the Seattle corner, I can't remember his name now, but Tariq something, I can't remember his name. But anyway, yeah, the Seattle corner. They came in and were some of the best corners in the league. But I mean, guys like Derek Stingley, who were picked before Sauce, still struggled. So it's not often that a corner comes in and is just a lockdown like Sauce was, or the Seattle guy. But we had 2 fantastic ones last time out. So not sure how good Forbes is going to be. I think that's really up to him. But, I mean, besides that, I think the secondary's got a lot of potential. I'm very confident in the defensive line. I think Chase Young is going to have a big season. I think that Jonathan Allen is going to continue to be successful. I think Deron Payne's going to continue to be successful as well. But I worry about the linebackers, and I worry about the corners. But I think the corners are going to be better than the linebackers, but still, I do worry. So that was it for the first team defense. And then just looking at the second team and third team defense, really good defense by Christian Holmes. He had 2 passes specifically defended, which is a stat that gets recorded sometimes. I watch them. Like breaking up tackles. No passes broken up, but he did a really good job of just defending and covering well. The former 7th round pick. Jortavius Martin was really not great, the 2nd round safety. He was near the ball at all times, but he had 2 defensive pass interferences. One of them didn't matter because it was completion, so it just got added onto it. Well, that does matter, but he was not great. 2 DPIs, not what you're looking for, and he's going to take a while for him to develop, but it feels like he's not going to get that much playing time in his first year. I mean, he's on the second team, and you got guys like Derek Forrest, Cam Curl. We just talked about some of the secondary players. The real question is who's ahead of him? Is it Percy Butler, Christian Holmes? So we'll see how much he gets to play, but, Percy Butler actually had an interception on Joshua Dobbs, the second-string quarterback for the Browns. And John Ridgway had a penalty, and then he recovered a fumble. So pretty good stuff from the defense all in all. Like I said, I think that the main focus with this team is going to be on how good the defensive line can be. Can it be great? Can it take that next step? How good can the corners be? Because last year they were kind of bad. I mean, last year the secondary was kind of toast when Cam Curl was out. Can they be good or even great? And then linebacking, can we just be competent? Because we haven't been competent at linebacker, it feels like, for that long. From both or 3 guys. You're supposed to have 3 linebackers, Ron. That's what a 4-3 defense is. You have 3 off-ball linebackers, but there's only ever 2 good ones on the roster. And this year, it looks like we've only got 1 in Davis. I'm not loving what I'm seeing from Barton so far. So we'll see how they end up being. I think Jamin Davis will be pretty good, and Cody Barton, hopefully. I mean, I know you only use 1 linebacker in most sets, but you need 3. You need 3. Anthony Walker Jr. came for a visit, and you didn't let him sign. What's the big difference? Just pay him like $8 million a year. It's just 1 season. It's a 1 contract. Anyway. We just need more linebackers, and now it's going to be another weakness, and I'm sick of it. Because the middle of the field is just a no man's land when it comes to tackling guys unless a corner comes in. That's why we need Forbes. We need Forbes to be playing the slot or the boundary and just come in. But we'll see. We will see. But, yeah, let's take a look at some of the defensive stats. That's really all I have. Some guys looked good, some guys looked bad. But no real standouts, no big plays. Percy Butler had the pick, but it was a bad pass from Dobbs anyway. I'm not sure if you guys can hear, but my dogs are going crazy right now. They just bark at anything. If somebody walks in the house, it's pandemonium. I'll take a look at the quick defense. A lot of tackles and stuff, but let's see. I got to pick up my phone for this because there's so many. Khalid Hudson was pretty good on the second team. He had 6 total tackles, 4 solo. Rashad Walgoose had some tackles. Farrod Gardner. Pass deflected for Dejon Harris. He's a backup linebacker. Tackle for loss by Montez Sweat on the 4th and goal, big time. Terrell Burgess, the recently signed safety, who I think can crack the starting lineup, maybe. He had a pass deflected. James Smith-Williams, the second string defensive end. He had 2 tackles. He had a sack and a TFL, so a really big job. He had a QB hit. Tariq Castro-Fields, the backup corner, had a pass deflected. Christian Holmes, 2 pass deflected. F.A. Obata had a QB hit. That's really it from most of the main guys. Percy Butler's interception was 42 yards. I mean, it was no real standouts, but pretty good stuff on the defensive end. Like we've been talking about, just gotta. One thing to watch in Game 2 of the preseason for everybody out there is how well the corners play, especially the younger guys. How good can the linebackers be, and how great can the defensive line be? So that's kind of the tiers of it all. We have to have one great unit on the defense. Either the line, the linebackers, or the DBs. And I think it can be the D-line. And then if we have the corners be good, then I think we're in a really good position. Then let's just go over the actual game because we've gone over the stats. Obviously, preseason games and scores don't matter that much because you're playing by the end of the game your third stringers, or in some cases like fourth stringers, guys who won't even be on the roster. But it's still fun to look at. So in the first quarter, the only score was the Browns got a safety, so they were up 2-0. Then in the second quarter, back-to-back Washington touchdowns, the Jahan Dotson 26-yard pass from Sam Howell, and then the Jacoby Brissett 12-yard scramble. So they were up 14-2. In the third quarter, Washington, Joey Sly had a 49-yard field goal. Then Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the UCLA QB, threw a 7-yard pass to David Bell for the touchdown right at the end of the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, with 1 minute and 39 seconds left, Kellen Mond threw a 20-yard touchdown pass to Mike Harley Jr. For a 17-15 score. And then they went for the 2-point conversion, but did not get it. So Washington ended up getting the win 17-15, their first preseason win. They didn't win last year, so I'm not sure when they last won one was. Probably the season before that. But really impressive stuff there by some of the backups that just hold strong throughout that mini comeback. Obviously it would have been interesting to see how it would have gone down if it had gone 17-17. You would have gotten Washington in a position where they would have put Washington in a position where they had to get a 2-minute drill, which is always fun to watch. But they ended up getting the win, which is great. So their next preseason game is Monday, August 21st against the Baltimore Ravens. Sorry, a lot of talking today. August 21st against the Baltimore Ravens on ESPN. That's going to be a fun watch. I will have another episode out before that preseason game just to talk more about the Commanders. Trying to get more consistent with uploads. I've been doing a lot with summer working, and now I'm going to be moving. So a lot of effort and stuff, but really love to make these episodes for everybody and hope that you guys enjoy. It's been so much fun, and now that the Yankees are trash, I love talking about the Commanders. I always do, but usually it takes a little bit for my focus to fully shift onto them until the first real game, but now I'm locked in. I'm completely locked in. I'm going to play Madden after this probably. Well, maybe I just moving stuff. But definitely going to play Madden at some point with the Commanders. So really, really great stuff. Really happy to see guys like Howell, Rodriguez, Turner, Dotson, Young, Holmes stand out. Those are really my biggest takeaways. And then some guys struggle like the offensive line, the linebackers, some of the corners, safeties. So we'll see. But pretty productive stuff. And make sure you're following me on Instagram and Twitter at the Command Center. So hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment. Let's talk about the Commanders. I love it. I love you guys for listening. So thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next one. Live from the Command Center, it's Joseph Henry. Have a good one.